Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to America once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery that you've seen me review a good number of things from over the last little while. And I'm particularly excited to try this beer, and I'll tell you why in a little minute. For this one then, we are going to go back to Charlton in Massachusetts, which is of course home to Treehouse Brewing Company, and this beer is supposed to be one of the best ones that they do. This is the Very Hazy, a New England double IPA coming in at 8.6%. It's supposed to be a sort of amped up version of the regular Hazy, if you like. But this one's rated at 4.75 on Untappd, which is an absolutely crazy rating to have. So the reason that I'm so excited about this beer is that Chris Contreras, the guy who's been sending me all of these Treehouse beers, he told me that this is his favourite ever IPA. This guy really knows his beers. The other beers that he sent me from Treehouse have all been very impressive. So it's a really strong statement to make actually, and that is really what makes me so curious about this particular beer. But as always in these Treehouse reviews, a huge thank you to Chris for making this one possible. A huge thank you to him as well for all the other Trillium, Treehouse and Aslan beers and the other beers before that he sent me as well. I hate to think how much he has spent on postage sending me stuff, but obviously it's massively appreciated. There are a good few others like Jesse and Davor and things who've sent me beer over the years as well. So to all of you guys following the channel, a huge thank you, and I hope that you have enjoyed this kind of mini series, if you like, of New England beers that Chris has sent me over the last little while. But this is the last one for the moment, actually the last one you'll see from Treehouse for a little while, I would presume. But I will be heading out to New England August of 2020, maybe September, I can't quite remember, for my friend's wedding. I need to check that, but I will be heading out there, and hopefully I can go and film a little out and about video at Treehouse Brewing Company along with my friend Tabor, so you can look forward to that. And when Chris does make it up to Sweden, I definitely owe him a good few beers. So, and maybe you'll see him in one of the videos as well, but we'll need to see how that goes. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Treehouse Brewing Company before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future, but this is the last one for a little while. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Treehouse Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Treehouse Brewing Company are based in Charlton in Massachusetts, which is about halfway between Hartford in Connecticut to the southwest and Boston in Massachusetts to the northeast on the New England coast. But the company was founded back in 2011 by 4 friends. This is Dean Rohan, Nate Lanier, Damien Goudreau and Jonathan Weisbach, although I think the latter is not involved in the company anymore. So Dean has a background as a plumber, Jonathan was a graphic designer, Damien was, he ran a gym and co-owned it as well, and Nate was a construction manager. But basically the guys had homebrewed together from around 2008 in Nate's kitchen, but then they moved to a small 2.5 acre farm in Brimfield, which had a treehouse on the edge of it, and it was this that would go on to inspire the name of the brewery. So the brewery continued to grow over the coming years, but they moved in 2013 to Corran Farm in Monson, which was owned by one of the founders' families, and it was there that they expanded their capacity from 150 to 900 US gallons per brew, which in real people, metric measurements, is 570 litres to 3,400 litres, and there they also opened up a tap room as well, which I believe is actually still open if I'm not mistaken. So in 2016 the company bought land in Charlton, and they planned the construction of a 53,000 square foot or 5,000 square metre brewery, which went on to open in May of 2017, and this can produce 60,000 US barrels or 9.5 million litres of beer per year. The previous site at Monson is now home to their barrel aging programme, and over the last few years they've also added a larger outdoor space and another mezzanine level inside the brewery at Charlton. In 2019 they also purchased a farm in Woodstock in Connecticut, and apparently they plan to experiment further there with barrel aging, so basically expanding their barrel aging programme, and also to do some open fermentation brewing there as well. So basically this is going to be a barrel aging and sour beer facility, which I think will be very exciting. So maybe in 2020 you'll see some barrel aged stuff and sour beer starting to appear. Treehouse Brewing Company, and hopefully I can try some of those with Tabor next year. But out of the 4 founders, it's Nate that's the head brewer, and according to Untappd, as of November 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, they've released well over just over 300 different types of beer. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Treehouse Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, if you're interested in all the different beers that they've done, the Rate Beer and Untappd pages are definitely worth checking out. This is one of the iconic New England IPA breweries, along with Alchemist, Hill Farmstead, Trillium, and these guys make up the 4th of the big 4, if you like. Very well known for their New England IPAs, but as I've seen in the last 2 videos before this, they're very good when it comes to kind of sweet stouts and stuff like that as well. I'd love to try a barley wine from these guys and a West Coast IPA. I don't know if they have done a West Coast IPA, actually. I'd assume when they've done 300 beers that they may well have done it, but I think it would be really interesting to see what one of the iconic New England IPA breweries could do if they had got a proper old school, you know, Sierra Nevada Torpedo style West Coast IPA. I'd love to see what a Scotch ale from them would be like as well. That would be a very interesting review to do for you. But who knows, maybe when I go out there, those will be things that they will have done actually. But you will probably 90% see a review, a little out and about video at Treehouse Brewing Company with Tabor at some point next year. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. As I mentioned earlier on, this one is an amped up version of the original Haze, which would have been the 3rd video you would have seen me do from Treehouse Brewing Company. My speech isn't working today, brain is just not working. But yeah, you can see the artwork on this one is of course very, very similar. The main difference though, of course, is that the whole artwork, or the whole can, has the artwork on it with the regular Hazy, and this one just has one of the little stickers. But this is supposed to be, as I mentioned, a very, very good New England double IPA, and when Chris is saying that this is his favourite New England IPA that he's ever come across, or I think he said his favourite IPA actually, then I think this one will be really quite special. 473ml can, which also is one US pint. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. It doesn't really say anything about the beer on the side of it because it doesn't have a back label, as you can see, but yeah, really nicely presented as always from Treehouse, and I do think the artwork on these ones is designed by Jonathan Weisbach. So let's have a look at this beer and see how we got on then. We'll get it out and into the glass. So yeah, and as I've said in the other videos that I've done from Treehouse Brewing Company, I think I've been very lucky with these New England IPAs because I don't know how long, I can't remember how long ago Chris was actually in America to pick up these beers, but I think when I'm drinking them for you, the date today is the 17th of November 2019, and you know, I think these are maybe about 3-4 weeks old, something like that. So they are, I think, just sitting in their prime. I've always felt with New England IPAs that if you drink them too early, they just come across as very green and burny, and you can't get away with that in the same way that you would with a West Coast IPAs. I think the New England IPAs really have to mellow out a little bit, and I've been getting these beers, I think, just in the prime time to drink, probably about 3-4 weeks, something like that. So yeah, as you can see with this one then, this is poured a lovely, quite murky but still quite bright hazy yellow. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see that this beer is one of these sort of barley soup kind of things, as my Swedish friend Kalle likes to call it. It's a massively hazy beer, this one. There was about a half finger of a frothy, I would have said perfect white head on this when we opened it up. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, this beer looks exactly as you might expect from a New England double IPA. Lovely, lovely looking beer, this one. Nothing surprising about how it comes out in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that comes across really nicely. I mean, in terms of comparing this to other double IPAs, it actually comes across as maybe a little bit more reserved in its aroma. But the thing that I've seen with these Treehouse beers is that in terms of how you compare them to like Trillium and Alchemist and things like that. I think the Alchemist ones are a bit more farmhousey and rusticy. The Trillium ones have a bit more kind of bite to them and pungency, whereas the Treehouse ones are very light and drinkable. These beers actually really remind me of the Jagovor and the Stam beers that I had from Moscow recently. You can see where the Russians are really taking their inspiration for the New England IPAs, whereas the ones that we get in Sweden, I think, are a bit more like the Trillium ones, and the same with the ones you get from just over in Copenhagen as well. But yeah, this beer, it comes across really nicely. The aroma on this one isn't quite as pungent as I thought it was going to be, but when you take it in a bit more deeply, you do get everything that you expect out of this one. So with this beer then, you can pick up a nice little bit of a kind of oaty creaminess to the beer. There's definitely a little bit of a wheaty note to this, but the malt base, as I always say with Treehouse, comes across as very, very smooth. You've got a nice little bit of a biscuity sweetness in there as well. On the green side of the hops, I think this one really leans towards the floral side of things. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just going by the aroma that is Galaxy that's in this one. Maybe Galaxy and Citra, actually. It could, of course, be Simcoe, because it comes across as very passion fruity, sort of passion fruity, grapefruity. But yeah, I think Galaxy or Simcoe, but Simcoe wouldn't be quite as pungent as this. As I say, this isn't the most pungent of the IPAs I think that I've had in terms of aroma from Treehouse, but it has everything you'd expect once you get into it. So yeah, lovely big floral aromatic green notes out of this one. A little bit of grassiness too, but that sits back a little bit. No real earthiness or anything like that. Definitely the green side of the hops in this beer is more along the lines of a big spicy floral character. A little bit of a, as I say, a little bit of a kind of strong passion fruity note to this one. Some sort of mangoey, juicy mango notes as well. Maybe a little bit of pineapple and apricot, papaya type thing too. It's got these lighter kind of tropically notes to it as well, but I think the dominating fruit in this beer is a sort of passion fruity, grapefruity kind of note. But yeah, definitely some mangoes in there, some pineapple-y notes, these kind of things, a little bit of an apricot-y quality as well. So overall, the aroma of this beer is really quite nice. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect, and I think the floral character on this one is a little bit more noticeable compared to some of the other Treehouse ones that I've had, but I still find this beer a little bit reserved in terms of its aroma, especially when I think about the other ones. I can't remember if I said the same about the Julius and the Green and the original Haze, if you like, because the original Haze, I think, was what, about 8.2? I think it was an 8.2% double IPA. But yeah, this one really comes across as quite. It comes across just a little bit, from memory, it comes across as being just a little bit thicker, a bit more oaty. But not quite as pungent in its aroma now that I think about it. I don't know, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and take a whiff of the aroma before you get stuck into the beer, especially when it comes to something that's quite as rare and quite as highly rated as this, if you like. So without further ado, let's have a taste of this one then and just see how we get on. This one is the Very Hazy, a New England double IPA at 8.6% from Treehouse Brewing Company in Charlton in Massachusetts. Let's get stuck into this beer. Once again, a massive thank you to Chris Contreras for making these reviews, the Treehouse ones, the Trillium ones, and the other things you've seen recently possible. I hope that you guys have enjoyed them. Let's get stuck into them. Chrissy's favourite IPA, Slange Skål. Oh yeah, right. That is a really, really pretty damn good beer. I can see why Chris likes this one. That's it's always special when you get beers like this to try on the channel. This is really, really very good. But the one thing that I think, from my perspective, that's cool about this, when I have this one, and then I think about the kind of quality of the New England IPAs that we get, from the likes of OO Brewing, from Stigbergets, from Gamma, Amar, Dry and Bitter and things in Copenhagen, those really are pushing the same level of quality of this. So it's, when you try one of the original, the big four originals, if you like, it really is cool to to try these kind of things as well. I've had New England IPAs from Korea, Meisterly Brewing. I've had New England IPAs from the likes of Izakadoya and Shigakogen in Japan as well, and Heroes Beer Company, Carbon Brews in Hong Kong. You know, you can go to pretty much any place in the world these days and find good quality New England IPAs, and when you come back and try one of the very highly rated ones from the likes of Treehouse, who are one of the kind of founders of this style, I guess you could say, it's awesome just to think how well other breweries have taken this style on and done it. But this is a beautiful example of the style, and as I say, that's one of the things I always enjoy, going back to, you know, original breweries and seeing how they do things. But this is a great beer. As I mentioned earlier, the Treehouse beers really do remind me of the Jagovor and Stam Brewing beers that I've had from Moscow in recent times. It's the drinkability of these that's crazy. I mean, at 8.6%, to have a beer as drinkable as this is a bit crazy. I mean, Brewski Brewery in Skåne here in the south of Sweden, these guys are another one that are very good when it comes to the New England IPA, and when you let them mellow out a little bit, they do come across at this, although I would say they lean a little bit more towards the kind of bite that you get from the Trillium beers actually. But this is really very nice. I mean, if you get the chance to try this beer, have a go at it. It's as I say, it's just cool to go back to an original brewery, try one of the original kind of New England IPAs, and then compare it to what you've had from other places. This is a beautiful beer. So yeah, let's break down the flavour of this one a little bit then. So middle of your palate, you get that nice wheaty quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. I think the wheat in this one has a little bit more kind of pungency to it compared to some of the other Treehouse ones that I've had. I think the wheat has a little bit of that. It's almost the same kind of feel that you'll get from a bit of a, like a acidulated malt or something like that. There's almost just a little bit of that kind of citrusy bite, if you like, to the wheat in this one. It could just be the fact that this beer is a little bit kind of higher in alcohol, right enough. In fairness, this beer in some ways, it reminds me a little bit of some of the things you would get from Magic Rock in England, the Cannonball series almost. It's got a little bit of that kind of slightly acidulated malt thing in there too, which is kind of interesting. But it's not all that prominent, if that makes sense. I think it's just a very light touch. So yeah, middle of your palate, blanketed with that nice wheaty kind of thing, moving more towards the middle of the palate. That's where you get that, pardon me, little bit of acidulated, kind of bright quality out of this beer that I was talking about. And when you move further into the centre of the palate too, you definitely get a nice kind of oaty creaminess out of this beer. And you also get just a little bit of a biscuity sweetness in the middle of the palate there as well, which will be covering up the booziness. One of the things I've also said about New England IPAs in the past is that I think you start to struggle a little bit when you go above the 8% mark with these, and I guess that's probably the reason why, if they are using acidulated malt, and I think that's why Magic Rock do it as well, you know, you need to find something to cover the alcohol burn with this style. It's easier with a West Coast IPA because you've got caramel and things, but with the New England IPA, where it is meant to be a sort of almost flat, kind of smooth, creamy malt base, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, and I think the acidulated malt, if they have used that in here, covers it up really quite nicely in this. Yeah, no, police helicopter must be outside. I didn't do anything. But yeah, with this beer then, the malt base is really quite nice. I find the malt base just a little bit more pungent in this one compared to the last ones that I've had from Treehouse, and I can see why Chris really likes this. I mean, if you like this beer, a good one to try would be the Cannonball beers from Magic Rock Brewing in I think, is it Huddersfield they're from? They're from the kind of Yorkshire area in England. This beer really reminds me of that one actually. And you would also like Dry and Bitter Gamma from Copenhagen, and then also Brewski from Helsingborg here in Skåne in South Sweden. This beer really has the kind of same sort of malt base as some of their things. In terms of the hoppiness in this beer then, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness there, but it's quite minimal in this one. It's not, I'm pretty sure there's not any Mosaic in here. Mosaic is always the one that gives you a little bit of that stronger earthy quality, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that definitely kind of that smoothness, that earthy smoothness does spread forward. You get a little bit of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, and then as you go round the front curve of the tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy. The floral character that you're getting out of this beer It's not even, it's just quite bright actually. It's not even spicy or anything like that. It is just a little bit bright. Yeah, I really like how this goes together. I mean, I can see exactly why Chris likes this beer. And I'm also finding the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, you actually get more of the kind of creamy notes out of it. The floral quality lingers there a little bit, but really I'm noticing that the oaty creaminess and some of the biscuity notes of this beer, they're pushing their way out of the middle of the palate the further you go into the aftertaste this one. I mean, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this beer. The things that are lingering there on the tongue now are the sort of the creamy oats. There's a little bit of the kind of wheaty pungency, and you've got a little bit of a biscuity note to the beer as well, and also that nice floral aromaticity as well. So I mean, overall, it's a really nice. This is just a very, very good New England double IPA. Actually, it's dangerously drinkable. I can see. It always is a bit scary actually when you think where some of these breweries are in America, in the middle of industrial places or farms and stuff, and people will go along, drink a few of these and then drive home. That's one of the things that always bothered me. I mean, Toppling Goliath in Iowa, when I went there, that was a prime example actually of, I guess that's probably what goes on quite a lot there. The police just need to sit outside that place and they'd have a field day. But yeah, that is a really awesome New England double IPA, I have to say. Fruity side of things then. So for me, as I always say, you get the fruity esters coming out of the beer in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue there. If you go to the back of that oily bubble, I think this beer, there's definitely a bit of a passion fruity note to this one. It's not quite strong and dark enough to be grapefruity. I think it is more passion fruit. And as you come further forward from that, it gradually evolves. You get a little bit more of a mangoey note out of it. You also get a little bit of a kind of papaya, apricot-y type thing as well. And on the tip of the tongue, there's almost just a little bit of a, I want to say like a lemon limey quality or something like that. I mean, if we're playing guess the hops with this beer, I wouldn't be surprised if there is. The hops that I think could be possible with this one, maybe Galaxy. Simcoe would be another possibility, but Simcoe I've always found is a little bit lighter and more kind of milky than this, but going by the other fruity flavours in this, that would be a possibility. So I think that there's one of either Simcoe or Galaxy in this. There's also a nice... I think there's a good chance that there's a bit of Citra in this, and then I think there could be a little bit of Centennial or Equinox. I've got a feeling that this is a 2 or a 3 hop beer, this one. And it's the lemon limey notes that you get, that it's on the tip of the tongue, and it gives you a little bit of the dryness of the beer as well. That indeed could be... that could be kind of misconstrued a little bit with the acidulated malt or whatever, if there is that in here. That can give you that sort of tart, that sort of citricy, lemony quality too. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little bit of Centennial in this one. I'm leaning more towards Centennial than it would be Equinox, for example, which would give you the limey notes. I mean, it could be, what is the one... Is it Waiti from New Zealand that gives you the kind of limey notes, if I remember correctly? It could be something like that. The other hop, now to come to think of it, that could be is El Dorado. That's got a really nice passion fruity note to it as well. So I think either El Dorado, Simcoe, or Galaxy could be one of the things. I've got a feeling there might be Citra in here, and then I think perhaps Centennial, but I'm not sure. As I always say, I like to play guess the hops with these beers. But this is a beautiful, beautifully drinkable New England double IPA, this one. I really love how this goes together, and I can see exactly why Chris says this is one of his favourite IPAs, because it is really damn good. It definitely deserves that 4.75 rating that it's got on Untappd. But again, for me, as a European, to try this, it really is quite cool to try this one and then think, well, we've got Gamma, we've got Dry and Bitter, we've got Brewski, and you've got Stigbergets and OO and things like that up in Gothenburg as well. It's cool to see that the quality of New England IPAs across the world isn't it's very close actually to what you're getting back in New England. So always cool to see that too. But yeah, that is just an awesome New England double IPA. It's one of the best in that style that I've reviewed, and I don't even know, I must have reviewed about 200 or 300 of this style of beer over the last couple of years, because everyone is doing these days. I've said a few times I miss the West Coast IPAs to have a little bit of variance, and I have to admit I would like a little bit of variance when it comes to the IPA style, because, you know, if you're doing New England IPAs all the time, it gets a little bit old. But, you know, when you try things like this, it kind of really reminds you as well just how nice a style of and how drinkable a style of beer this actually is. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, this beer, I think, you know, it's mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth in this one. The mouthfeel overall is very smooth and very creamy. As I've said, as a trait with the Treehouse Brewing beers, these are definitely the kind of smooth, drinkable one of the big four, if you like. As I say, I can't really speak for Hill Farmstead because I've not tried any of their stuff, their own stuff actually yet, but that's one for the future. But these New England IPAs from Treehouse are insanely drinkable. This is dangerous for an 8.6% beer because you get pretty much no alcohol warmth off it. You feel a teeny bit in here, but other than that, this beer is dangerously drinkable. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, I reckon we're talking about 40 IBUs with this beer. I think it's a little bit higher than 30, so I reckon around the kind of 40 mark with this one. Malt base is very smooth, it's got a little bit of thickness and creaminess to it, and also a little touch of sweetness in there as well, maybe even a little bit of citric quality like I was talking about with those kind of acidulated, acidic malts and things like that. In terms of the fruitiness, it's nice and kind of creamy and juicy. It is just a little bit like a fruit juice, the fruity side of things in this. But overall, this is just a beautiful, beautiful New England double IPA. I mean, for those of you watching in different parts of the world, this one, it really reminds me of the Jagovor beers that I've had from Moscow recently, in terms of the smoothness and drinkability. If you like Gamma and Dry and Bitter and some of the Amar New England IPAs as well from Copenhagen, it's also good. OO and Stigbergets, you know, it's kind of similar to that. And in Asia as well, it actually reminds me of some of the Meisterli beers that I had from Meisterli Brewing in South Korea. The Izakadoya New England IPAs as well, they're very good. The Carbon Brews and Heroes Brewing Company beers, Young Master as well in Hong Kong, those are awesome. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Australia these days too. In England you've got Cloudwater, Dea, Magic Rock, these kind of guys. You know, there's awesome stuff coming out across the world. So to come back and try this beer, which is supposed to be one of the best ones from Treehouse Brewing Company, one of the original big four New England IPA breweries, and then compare it to these other ones that I've tried across the world, is pretty special. And it's awesome just to see the standard that these other breweries have, because it really is very close to one of these original breweries. So yeah, I take my hat off to Treehouse Brewing Company once again. This is an awesome beer. I think this one probably is the best of the ones that I've tried, to be honest. I really liked the Perfect Storm as well, actually. I really quite liked that one. And I mean, the Julius and the Green, they surprised me because of how light and drinkable they were. And to be fair, it was probably more the original Haze that was kind of akin to what I was expecting, and that was probably because I tried Trillium before I tried Treehouse, of course. But the original Haze was probably what I was kind of expecting the Treehouse beers to be like. But regardless, you can see immediately the quality of their beers. They're an awesome, awesome brewery, this one, and if you get the chance to try them, I highly recommend that you do. But as I said, this is my last review from Treehouse for a little while. This review's probably been a little bit longer than it needed to be once again, but I think it's always cool to reflect a little bit on the other beers you've had when you try something that is, you know, the kind of benchmark for a certain style. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. Once again, a huge thank you to Chris Contreras for making this Treehouse mini-series possible, along with the Trillium and Aslan beer that you've seen recently as well. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. You'll definitely see him in one of my videos at some point over the next little while, and I will do my best to go and see the Treehouse Brewing Company when I make it out to New England in September next year. But I hope you've enjoyed, or September 2020. This review might publish in 2020, I don't know. But thank you again for watching my beer reviews. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Treehouse Brewing Company as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. If you like a nice big juicy kind of fruity creamy New England IPA, very drinkable, this is one that you are really going to enjoy. The Very Hazy, a New England double IPA at 8.6% ABV from Treehouse Brewing Company in Charlton, Massachusetts. Dangerously drinkable, but you will love this beer, so have a go at it and see how you get on. Until the next time, Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.